I was recently a guest on a podcast where the host raised the question of why people are less interested in learning as they get older. And while there are clearly some exceptions, the observation seems realistic. Time spent in school is overwhelmingly concentrated in our childhood and early adulthood. Stories of people going back to school in their twilight years are newsworthy precisely because this is fairly rare. It also fits informally with my observation that people are much more reluctant to pick up new skills or topics as they age. I learned downhill skiing at 30, but I only know a handful of people personally who began at a much older age than I was. I think this is a worrying trend. Learning is an important part of the good life. So if forces make it harder or less desirable to learn, it seems like it would be helpful to understand them. So let's consider 3 theories and see what they suggest about what we can do to defy this trend and learn lifelong. Theory number 1. Opportunity costs and investment horizons. So the first explanation is simply economic. Learning is an investment. As you invest in some skills and not others, your opportunity cost for learning new things increases. You also get a greater return from activities where you already have considerable training. A failure to learn new things is thus perfectly rational, even if it can result in inflexibility as we get older. One way this manifests is by having a longer time horizon to recoup the investment. This explains why going back to school becomes rarer as you get older. A 20-year-old presumably has 40 years for a career to earn back an arduous training period. A 50-year-old may only have 10. Therefore, younger people should be able to make longer, riskier investments than those who need it to pay off quickly. Another way this can occur is if the investment in one skill makes time spent on new skills comparatively less attractive. So if I have zero knowledge of programming and accounting, but equal potential ability, then the two are roughly the same for me. In contrast, if I have a decade of programming experience, then an hour spent programming is going to be much more valuable than an hour spent learning accounting. Economics incentivizes specialization, even if we'd prefer to be more well-rounded. Theory number 2, we're too busy. Another explanation for dwindling curiosity is that life gets busier as you get older. Now, I feel this acutely today. When I compare my schedule now with a toddler at home and a business which employs multiple people, I feel far more constrained than when I was in my 20s. Learning new things takes time. While it's important to be efficient, the entry cost for even a well-designed learning may just simply be prohibitive for busy professionals with kids. Energy may matter even more than time. If you work full-time and have responsibilities at home, especially if your work is mentally demanding, you may just not have the spare energy to invest in cognitively demanding projects. Binge watching Netflix may not be where you'd like to spend your time ideally, but it makes sense if you feel chronically exhausted. This also helps us explain why there can be a sudden urge for learning after retirement. With the kids gone and work stopping, people finally have the time to engage in learning projects that were sidelined during their career. Theory number 3, older minds can't learn as well. So the most popular explanation I hear, according to declining education, is that when you're older, your brain simply can't absorb new information as quickly. Now, there is a grain of truth to this. Fluid intelligence peaks in your early 20s and declines afterward. However, the decline is pretty gradual. The research I've seen seems to indicate that it's only a serious problem in advanced age, and even then there's high variance, with some people becoming senile and others experiencing relatively few problems. That said, age is often an advantage to learning other things. Older people usually have more responsibility and organization skills, which assist in sticking to a project. Knowledge that is accumulated can make learning easier, so delving deeper into subjects adjacent to those you've previously studied can benefit from your past experience. Overall, I'm less convinced that age per se is a significant factor, even though it is often cited. How can we sustain learning lifelong? Given these possible theories, I think there's a few things we can do to continue learning. 1, reduce the effort for learning. So always carry a book with you. Set up your environment so learning projects can start and stop on demand. Pick projects that overlap with your career, social life, or parenting goals so you can justify the time investment. Number 2, set aside time for experiments. The straightforward calculus suggests that doing what you're already good at is going to have the best payoff. But if you never learn anything new, you can't encounter random opportunities. Setting aside time for hobbies that you're bad at, books you know nothing about, or skills you've never practiced may seem wasteful, but it's a good practice to avoid getting stuck in a rut. Number 3, shift from skills that involve quick wits to accumulated knowledge. Decline in fluid intelligence is overrated as an explainer for learning difficulties. But there's a reason why groundbreaking mathematicians skew younger than historians. Shifting to knowledge-intensive subjects seems like an overall sound strategy. Above all, however, I think losing interest in learning is a choice. For every trend, there are exceptions. With the right attitude, you can be one of them.